Hare Krishna! Welcome everyone. I'm going to do some testing for a few moments. See if my laptop fan is as obnoxiously loud as I think it is. So I got to keep talking while I test, and I have to turn this fan off at the same time. Test, test, test. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Hare. They're still on. I told them to turn off. What's going on here? Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. I think it's good. I changed my microphone today to a different driver. Okay, they just shut off, and I can't tell any difference. So that's good. So Hare Krishna, everyone. Thanks for coming. Once again, I do not have a solid plan of what we're talking about here today, but as long as it's about the Bhagavad Gita, I will be happy. If you're coming in live, please say hi on the chat. If not, no big deal. You can always watch this at any time of your convenience later on. I'm still recovering from my, what I believe is COVID Omicron. I'm completely fine, but losing my voice still. I'm still stuck at home. My car cannot make it out of the driveway. So life is fun. Once again, we are working with the one and only Bhagavad Gita as it is, 72 edition. And what I would like to do, well, there's two possible things I'm thinking about doing. One is reading from chapter 18, which could be my new favorite chapter. And then the other thing is checking out the Bhagavad Gita study guide that I put on my website and just using that. Although what I really want to do is to read the Gita again, cover to cover, every single purport, just read the whole thing again, which I haven't done in years. And it's just something I don't get tired of, and it's also very special. So taking the time to read very carefully is, honestly, I just relish it. It's just so much fun. But I'm thinking in this platform, online, live stream, whatever, just reading from the book the whole time will be a little uneventful, I think. So one person from last class said they want to hear more Prabhupada, more what Prabhupada says in the purports. I agree with that. Another person told me that they wanted to hear more of how I practically use the Gita. And man, I agree with that. And that's what my whole website is about, what that whole part of my life that's teaching this stuff is trying to do. And I struggle because a lot of the things, well, all the things that I do very well are unconscious. I don't know actually how I'm able to do them so well. So it's hard to consciously teach them to others. Um, but basically, the key is vidya, meaning to realize the knowledge, not just, like you're reading through the Gita or something else, Aristotle, whatever, something really potent, though. If assuming you're reading something potent like that, ancient wisdom text, we'll call it, and you read it a couple verses and you think, oh, well, that's cool, yeah, that seems true, and then you just keep reading and keep moving on, and there's nothing actually happening in the heart or even in like the deeper parts of the mind. There's no benefit from that. That's basically masturbation, and that's fine. But you just have to be honest with yourself and know when it is you're just engaging in sense gratification or actually doing a bona fide process that will help you grow into a better human being. So I have the intuition naturally where I can like instantly tell, and I'm very honest with myself. So I don't get into a lot of the trouble that others get into. And by trouble, I mean you don't even know you're in trouble. It's really bad. Anyway, so the practical thing I wanted to work on, like what I'm, quote, suffering, unquote, most recently, is nihilism. I feel, what's the point? Although, to be honest, I've never really suffered from a hard kind of nihilism really at any point in my life. Although I just have a bad mood recently, and instead of being very productive, I'm like minimally productive. So, I can do this weekly Gita class. I got a new teaching job. There's very basic things that I'm doing, but there's plenty of other things I want to do to improve myself that I just think, what's the point? Like having a strict regulated diet to follow, an exercise routine. That'd be nice, but I just don't care enough to start doing that. And I guess you could call it nihilism. It's something like that, but it's very, very mundane. Um, anyway, so I was thinking about this before this stream started, and I want to walk you through that process of how to. What I was thinking on is how to best use the Gita to solve this problem. So, well, the first thing I did was I went to my Gita study guide on my website. So I will share that with y'all now. So here we are at ethosananda.com. That's my website. And right there at the top, it says books. And there it is, Bhagavad Gita. So this is from the back cover of the orange edited edition, which I strongly believe has actually a few things about it that are pretty good and actually that the original doesn't have. And I'm actually quite glad that this edited one has it, like these 3 quotes. So on the original one, my virtual background doesn't like it. Anyway, at the very bottom, there's just one quote from Thoreau. It's the same quote that's here. The Bhagavad Gita makes our modern world and its literature seem puny and trivial. This is actually really inspiring, this quote by Thoreau and Emerson, just bashing our modern world and at the same time glorifying the Gita. And there's a Gandhi quote there. That's nice. So I designed this study guide for complete beginners, but also you could call it a purple belt study guide. It's something that if you've been doing this as long as I have, you can actually still use this as an intermediate or advanced reader and still benefit a lot from this. So here's a picture to show the main part of the guide here is you just read the translation by itself at first. And then once you finish reading the entire text like this, then you go back, read the introduction, all the commentaries, purports, etc. And this kind of reading works very well for the Gita because there's only 700 verses. So you can just sit down and read the entire thing in just 2.5 hours. And if you don't have any, if you do have a specific goal in mind, once you find a verse that really hits home, then you can go into the purport more deeply and like that. So another cool thing about this guide, so that's it. That's the guide. It's just like this one, not even one paragraph writing here, and then just a visual demonstration of how this Gita is set up. So there's like the translation, the purport, but then also above the translation is the word for word, and then the Sanskrit in what is it called? Transliterated Sanskrit, and then Devanagari Sanskrit. I mean, and all of that stuff you can skip. I strongly recommend beginners to skip everything else because, especially if you're a Westerner, it's just weird. And until you're ready to dig deeper, you don't actually need it. It's great that it's there. That's how you know that this is a genuine ancient text. Is you have this translator, Srila Prabhupada, who's giving it exactly as it is in the original language, and then just translating the tiniest little bit piece by piece and showing you with full transparency each step along the way. It's very rare. Most translations of most ancient texts, even literature, it's not just a religious thing, of pompous, stupid people doing the translation who don't do a good job. And that is not what we have here, not at all. Okay, so then I do an example reading of a text, and then also on this little page on my website, there's some history about the Gita. But one more thing which I actually already looked at before doing the stream today is an overview of the chapters. This is really useful. So there's 18 chapters, and each chapter has a Sanskrit name, like Visada Yoga. Actually, I think every single chapter is a kind of yoga. In the chapter title, yes, yoga, 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 yoga. Each chapter is a different yoga. That's so cool. And so I just read through these 18 chapters, and I was just reading the chapter titles and thinking which one would be most relevant to me at this point, and 18 was obviously the one. Abandon all forms of dharma and simply surrender unto him. That's the ultimate perfection of life. So the most famous verse in that chapter that's talking about exactly that is, I believe, 1866, which we can check out right now. I'll just share my whole screen. Why not? I think this is working. Yeah. All right. Yep, this is the verse. Before we begin, mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 18, verse 66. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction. Do not fear. I really like this verse, especially that last sentence. Do not fear. The way Prabhupada writes this, it's just so personal that, it just feels like Krishna is actually talking to me in this verse, which he is. I'll give a go at the Sanskrit. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masukchaha. I don't really have the the rhythm or the melody there for the reading, but it's fun to do anyway. Another thing, as many of you have learned by now, I like to do is I read the word for word in just English, like this. All varieties of religion, abandoning unto me, only surrender. Go, I, you, all, from sinful reactions, deliver, not worry. So when Prabhupada writes, do not fear, the word for word is don't worry. But do not fear is so much stronger in such a good way. It's so much more compassionate, merciful, and personal. Let's read the purport. The Lord has described various kinds of knowledge, processes of religion, knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, knowledge of the Supersoul, knowledge of the different types of orders and statuses of social life, knowledge of the renounced order of life, knowledge of non-attachment. I wonder if that's different from detachment. Moving on, sense and mind control, meditation, etc. He has described in so many ways different types of religion. Now, in summarizing Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that Arjuna should give up all the processes that have been explained to him. He should simply surrender to Krishna. That surrender will save him from all kinds of sinful reactions, for the Lord personally promises to protect him. Okay, this is a very interesting thing that comes up in any what I'll call wisdom practice, like martial arts is like this too. So now, after being explained all of this technical stuff and all these difficult yogas and all that, at the very end, Krishna just says, oh, actually, you can forget about everything. Forget about everything I was just teaching you and just surrender to me. Just do this one really simple thing that I could have told you in the beginning, and maybe he did actually. But anyway, just forget about all that fancy techniques. Just forget about everything and just do this one really simple thing. That's ultimately what we do anyway. And when we're learning most things that I would call as a wisdom practice, meaning like art is like this too. That's true for many sports, although, within sports and art, there's different degrees of mundaneness. There's fine art and then there's like this modern crap. And some of the modern stuff is like, there's really nothing good about it at all. So you have to be really creative to like actually improve yourself by engaging it in any way whatsoever. But for fine art and classical sports, especially like Eastern martial arts, the beginner needs like sophisticated techniques and explanations and all this rigmarole. I hope I use that word right. Because basically the beginner is scared and their ego is just getting in the way like nobody's business. And one way around that is when the teacher, and also just nature itself, just makes this process, it makes your advancement become manifested only with a certain amount of sophistication, like you have to use techniques that have and with big fancy names and it has to be really difficult, externally difficult, so that when you do master that whatever technique it is and then you get it, then you realize, you feel like you've accomplished something. But in the end, the masters realize, the black belts, the purple belts, brown belts, red belts, black belts, they realize they haven't been doing anything really this whole time. They've been skirting around the idea of actually practicing the practice. And in the end, but you do have to go through this whole process to get to the point where you can just look at the entire thing, the entire discipline, as just one activity, just one action. In this case, it's surrender, and you just do it. You just do the surrender. You don't do bhakti to get better at surrender. You just friggin' surrender. It's like you don't work on your footwork as a boxer so that you can get close enough to the guy to maybe throw a certain kind of punch. No, you punch. You just punch. You're there to box, so you just box, Moving on. This will not be going that long today. For medical reasons, my voice just can't do so much. In the 8th chapter, it was said that only one who has become free from all sinful reactions can take to the worship of Lord Krishna. Thus, one may think that unless he is free from all sinful reactions, he cannot take to the surrendering process. To such doubts, it is here said that even if one is not free from all sinful reactions, simply by the process of surrendering to Sri Krishna, he is automatically freed. There is no need of strenuous effort to free oneself from sinful reactions. One should unhesitatingly accept Krishna as the supreme savior of all living entities. With faith and love, one should surrender onto him. Okay, keyword there is no need of strenuous effort, which is one aspect of what I was talking about in the previous paragraph. Actually, there really should be some effort to it, but it's not a complicated thing. It's a simple thing. For those who need it simple, it's simple. And for those who need it complicated, it's complicated. And the neophytes, the beginners, they love to make it complicated. Moving on. According to the devotional process, one should simply accept such religious principles that will lead ultimately to the devotional service of the Lord. One may perform a particular occupational duty according to his position in the social order, but if by executing his duty one does not come to the point of Krishna consciousness, all his activities are in vain. In recent years of my life, I've been focusing a lot on occupational duty. It comes with the territory. Living in Asia as many years as I did, that's what they do over there. They do their dharma, their occupational, their occupation. That's like their main thing. And they're good at that. And so I was living with people who are good at that. Most Americans are not. They're not good at their job. They don't even understand what work is in general. They think it's just a thing to get money. They don't have occupational duty. They have like chores they need to do to pay the bills so that they can watch Netflix. It's a little different than proper human life here, as has been being described by the Lord for many chapters. Anything that does not lead to the perfectional stage of Krishna consciousness should be avoided. One should be confident that in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. Man, that one's really huge. This is another example of something I've realized in myself, and I have no idea how to teach other people how to realize. It's mentioned in another verse that a devotee is fearless. Fearlessness is an essential aspect of being a devotee, meaning if you're not fearless, guess what? You're not a devotee. You just don't have that faith yet, which is fine. You know, you can do more japa. You can, there's many different things you can do to eventually get to that point. But as I already mentioned, it's the simplest thing in the world. You just surrender and you get the mercy and the faith, or you don't. Hare Krishna. There is no need of thinking how one should keep the body and soul together. Krishna will see to that. So amazing. Once again, this is very personal, fatherly love coming from Srila Prabhupada here. He's not just saying that to be like nice. This is actually true. That's why it works, reading the Gita like this. One should always think himself helpless and should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. That is something I need to work on. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord, in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. Okay, I want to talk a little bit more about what happened personally there. So, being confident in all circumstances, Krishna will protect him from all difficulties. That I can do, and I do, period. This is just honesty I have with myself, and I just smile and I keep reading when something like this happens. But what you may have noticed what happened later on, I read this one part later, just 2 sentences later. One should consider Krishna the only basis for his progress in life. That is something I do not do. I know it's true, but I don't actually live my life like this. I see progress in my life as measured mostly by ethos, by my character. So sometimes I do things like I'll learn how to ride a motorcycle, or get some new job, or I've been working around the temple here, helping with construction and maintenance and different random things, and it helps me become a better person. And it does. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't, but getting lost in that, ethos / material dharma aspect of life, that's not Krishna. It's very, very indirectly Krishna, but it's not directly Krishna. And in order to be really good at that, well, Prabhupada gives the clue right there in the same sentence. Always think of yourself as helpless. That's, once again, it's not like some nice Hare Krishna spiritual idea. This is technical advice from a expert practitioner. This is what's actually happening here. Pride is like a great enemy in real advancement because it doesn't actually work. it actually creates a mechanical block that stops you from getting mercy from Krishna, because you have nothing to be proud about in reality. You're not actually, there's no such thing as pride. There's false pride. That's a very real thing. But real pride, I really did something that's really good. No, you didn't. Not in your whole life. According to these standards we're talking about here, you've done shit. You ain't shit. And yeah, I can do that, but like this part here, Krishna is the only basis for my progress. That's really hard for me, and I look at my god brothers and other people, and especially in this continent, and I think, what's the point? If I'm just a little bit more Krishna conscious, I just have a little bit more Krishna in my life, but I'm still like this like uncivilized bum who, uses toilet paper with no bidet. It's not true of me, but for many others, this is true. And does so many other things which I think are just so stupid and obnoxious and uncivilized. Is it worth it? For me, I've always made the argument to myself, it's not worth it. If you have bad ethos, but great Ananda, I mean, it better be really great Ananda. You better really have Krishna himself in your life, like personally speaking to you and like being, just like visibly blissful and like, choking voice. And like, if you don't have all those qualities, if you just have, a little bit of some spiritual realization, but the rest of your life is a total mess, I don't see that as progress. Now, I guess compared to having no spirituality whatsoever, it is progress. But for me, what I've been doing is I've been saying to myself and others, part of why I published that Ethos book is to say that once you get to that point where you have faith in Krishna, where like you have no fear and you're protected from all difficulties, from that point on, not from that point on, but you can really grow as a person materially, and that's still real progress. Whether it's austerities, material austerities, going on a hard diet, or learning new skills, this does actually make the immediate situation better in our lives. But it is material though, because all these skills that I've picked up, I can't take them with me to the next life. And it's better than sense gratification, but getting closer to Krishna by any means necessary and actually getting that is real progress. And it is legitimate to do the long way around, which is, I guess, what I'm doing, versus the pure devotional, pure bhakti way. Of course, my problem with that is I just don't like religion. I don't like a lot of the practices. I don't like mantras. I don't like religious people. I think they're stupid. So I'd rather go the long way around, so long as I still get to the main end goal. But the best way to get closer to Krishna is to just do Krishna more in your life. So this reading the Gita is one bona fide way of doing that. Doing more japa, chanting his names. Yeah, and you can do both of those without being a brahmachari or a sannyas or living near a temple. I do live near a temple, and I do seva and all this stuff. And, I do that pure bhakti stuff too. But Krishna is the only basis for progress. So, regardless of what I'm doing, whether it's seva or reading the Gita or japa, whatever, I have to judge my own progress based purely on, is it Krishna or not Krishna? Is it more Krishna or less Krishna? That's all it is. I'm trying to talk myself into believing this is true, but I'm still not there yet. I don't know if you can tell. Let's move on. As soon as one seriously engages himself in devotional service to the Lord in full Krishna consciousness, at once he becomes freed from all contamination of material nature. There are different processes of religion and purificatory processes by cultivation of knowledge, meditation in the mystic yoga system, etc. But one who surrenders into Krishna does not have to execute so many methods. Yeah, that's what I just said. It's so funny. I was just went right into the next thing Prabhupada was going to talk about without realizing that. Yeah, so many methods: knowledge, meditation, mystical yoga. Like learning how to ride a motorcycle. I could see how many listening may think that's totally different from a mystic yoga or meditation, but it's not. That's exactly what I was talking about. Martial arts, whatever. Learning how to do carpentry. When you learn it the way I learn it, yeah, it's a meditation and you grow as a person. And it purifies you because of how I do it. I'm not it's not fruitive for me. I don't learn how to make a table so that I have a table. Because if I want a table, I'll go to the store and buy a friggin' table. I learned to make a table so that I can enjoy the process of learning in general and the process of creating something, and then hopefully get better at just that general process of creating, regardless of if it's a table or fixing my car or anything else. None of that matters. It's not fruitive, and that's why I personally benefit a lot from doing this ethos/dharma work that I do. But it doesn't change the fact that one who surrenders does not have to worry about none of that stuff. That simple surrender unto Krishna will save him from unnecessarily wasting time. One can thus make all progress at once and be freed from all sinful reaction. One should be attracted by the beautiful vision of Krishna. His name is Krishna because he is all attractive. One who becomes attracted by the beautiful, all-powerful, and omnipotent vision of Krishna is fortunate. There are different kinds of transcendentalists. Some of them are attached to the impersonal Brahman vision. Some are attracted by the supersoul. But one who is attracted to the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, that is Sri Bhagavan, and above all, one who is attracted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Krishna himself, is the most perfect transcendentalist. In other words, devotional service to Krishna in full consciousness. That's the key: full consciousness, full focus, full purity, is the most confidential part of knowledge, and this is the essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita. Karma yogis, empiric philosophers, mystics, and devotees are all called transcendentalists, but one who is a pure devotee is the best of all. The particular words used here, masucha, don't fear, don't hesitate, don't worry, are very significant. One may be perplexed as to how one can give up all kinds of religious forms and simply surrender unto Krishna, but such worry is useless. Beautiful. that's a totally different take on the last two words in the verse there. Every time I read it, even after reading the purport, I still read it the same way every time. I read it like Krishna is speaking to me directly, and he's just saying, I will deliver you. I will take care of you. You do not fear. I am here. It's just like, my dad is just ready to take care of me. That's how I read it every single time. But this is a very rational um, instruction here. Not instruction, but this is a very interesting other take on don't worry, don't fear. Because one thing you might be fearing is, how can you give up all these different religious things and simply surrender? How can you do that? You get perplexed, but such worry is useless. Just don't even worry about it. Yeah, I guess for me, when I see "do not fear," I, for some reason, those words just like jump right into my heart, and they're referring to fear in a very general sense, not in the specific sense in the verse that what Krishna's talking about and what Prabhupada's talking about of abandoning all varieties of religion and the fear you might have of that, especially if you're an initiated devotee and you're attached to various religious practices. Do not fear and just surrender. Well, I have to pat my own back for being good at that, because that's exactly what this live stream is all about. If I was, I don't know, stupid or less advanced, I would be worried about so many things. What if nobody comes? Or what if I sound stupid? Or, what if I lose time by doing this live stream and it takes away from other devotional things I need to do? Well, for me, there is no fear, there's no worry, because for me, this is how I progress. It is only this. Everything is inferior to the practice of listening and reading the Bhagavad Gita. Everything is secondary to that. Japa, sadhu sangha, prasadam, it's all secondary. I have achieved all the greatest things that I have achieved, once again, when using Krishna as the measurement. Where does it say that? One should consider Krishna the only basis for progress in life. So, as far as I can tell, the only way I've been able to bring Krishna more into my life, more into my consciousness, is by the process of reading. I get mercy from other seva I've done and offerings I make, and great devotees I've met all over the world. And I don't want to belittle any of those other things, but we have to be honest with ourselves. And I'm a classically trained philosopher, so like this is in my nature like nothing else. To this process of reading and studying and just taking the words and the knowledge itself and forcing it into my character, like basically forcing the realization and like hammering it into myself. This is something I can do very well, which benefits me more than anything else. And I've already experienced that. So I have no fear. I just keep doing it. So I don't know how much more my throat can do. So I think we're going to stop there. But the next time, I think I'm going to start, if I don't have something specific to work on, I'm going to start following this guide and start just reading the Gita again. And the amazing thing about the Gita is that even if you have like a specific problem like nihilism, and you do want to go through and find the best verse and the best chapter and all that, you don't have to. You can just start reading anywhere in the Gita, and it will be relevant to like 90% of your problems. That's just what the Gita is. So might as well start at chapter 1, verse 26, and see how that goes. That's what we'll do next time. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Didn't even get to open this yet, read from it yet, but next week we will. Oh, I want to keep going, but I'll need another drink. So we better stop there. Thanks for coming, everyone. Hare Krishna, once and forever and always. Allahu Akbar. Praise Jesus too. He's pretty cool. And I won't get banned for saying the next joke I was going to say. So, Hare Krishna.